Alright, guys, today I'm not going to be giving you a review or a ranking or anything like that. I'm going to be comparing small parks to big parks, telling you the pros and cons of both, and telling you when's the best time to visit each. First comparison is the crowds. You're obviously going to have much less crowds at a smaller park. If you go to a park like Seabreeze or Sylvan Beach or something, you're going to have way less crowds than at a park like Cedar Point or Kings Island. Or I would even consider a park like Six Flags Darien Lake or America to be smaller parks because they are a chain. And parks like Hershey Park are definitely a bigger park. Phantasialand. I would say a park like Knoebels that's family owned. It's not that big. That's a smaller park. And that's definitely the best small park that I've been to, which brings me to the next point that the food is usually way better at smaller parks because they're like family recipes or whatever. The bigger parks usually just have chicken tenders and hamburgers and boring crap like that. Knoebels has the best park food I've ever seen, and everything there is extremely high quality. And even at parks like Seabreeze, my home park, they've got good food for a park. It's definitely a lot better than Darien Lakes. Now let's talk about the rides. Obviously, if you go to a bigger park, you're going to get the biggest, baddest rides out there. You're going to get giga coasters, RMCs, all that good stuff. But at a smaller park, you can get some gems like Phoenix at Knoebels, Jackrabbit at Seabreeze, and even flat rides like Flyers, Rocco Plains, Tip Top, all those classic flat rides that you might not see at a larger park because of their capacity or whatever other reasons. Usually at the larger parks for flat rides, you're going to see your frisbees, your drop towers, all that good stuff. And you can have that at the smaller parks, but it won't be as big. But sometimes these smaller parks have even better drop towers than the big ones because the Larson ones are really cheap, really small, but they pack a punch. If you've ever been on one of those Larson drop towers like at Waldemere or Knoebels or Cliffs Amusement Park or whatever, you know those are intense. And yeah, you won't have the huge midways, all the coasters flying over you like you would at the big parks at the smaller parks, but that brings me to atmosphere and charm. There's just some sort of charm that these smaller parks have that the bigger ones just can't compete with. If you look at my home park, Seabreeze, again, they got a nice historic carousel playing music in that side of the park. And on the other side of the park, they don't have booming pop music everywhere. It's just kind of quiet. There's not really any music, I guess. And just walking around, you can tell that it's family owned, kind of. It's an independent park, and they care a lot about the landscaping at these smaller parks. You look at, again, Seabreeze, Waldemere, Tivoli Gardens over in Europe, Bakken. I mean, those two places look really nice. And I don't know, there's just something nice walking around kind of an old school amusement park. And also another thing is you're not going to get kind of the sketchy dark rides or whatever that the smaller parks have, like the Wacky Shack at Waldemere or Laughland at Sylvan Beach. You're not going to get anything like that at the major parks. You're going to get rides like Justice League, or maybe even you go to Universal or Disney and you get higher quality dark rides. But there's just something so fun about those kind of goofy, silly dark rides like the Wacky Shack at Waldemere that nothing can really compare to. Now, something that might seem kind of weird, but at least out of the small parks I've been to, I've kind of noticed this. Some of them are really cheap, and others are kind of pricey compared to their larger counterparts, like Seabreeze, for example. They're charging like $40 per ticket, which is kind of steep compared to some other parks. I'm actually pretty sure Energy Landia charges the same amount as Seabreeze, so that's kind of sad. In places like Sylvan Beach, you can't even get a season pass for, so you have to pay for the wristband or ride tickets every single time you go. And that also brings me to another point. A lot of these places have free entry. Knoebels is a perfect example of this. Everyone knows they have free entry and it's just pay to ride whatever you want. You can bring your dog around that place. You can have cookouts. It's a full resort, really, with camping and all that. So that's why Knoebels is one of my favorite parks. But the fact that you can just walk in there for like an hour, get a few rides on Phoenix, and get out of there, like that's a huge bonus because if I'm short on time and I still want to get my rides on Phoenix, then I can. And also, the employees are a lot more laid back at these parks. I know, again, like Rich Bananen at Tivoli Gardens has a brakeman, and usually they're running that thing pretty fast. And I mean, it's Denmark, but even over here in America, you'll kind of see a lot more employees kind of enjoying their job over here in America at the smaller parks. And I know a lot of people and employees would say, oh, yeah, you can't snap on flyers or don't flip that much on the Rocco planes. Like at these smaller parks, like they encourage you to snap as hard as possible or get as many flips as possible. So I really like that about them. Another thing with the smaller parks is you just get some downright bizarre places sometimes. Like look at Legendia, Bakken, Bonbon Land, Marine Land, pretty much any park in Japan that's not Fuji-Q, Nagashima, or Universal or Japan. I mean Disney, duh, they're in Japan. These are parks you're not going to find really anywhere else. I mean, look at Marineland. I've gone there a lot, and it's still really hard to get around. The pathways are huge. There's just nothingness for a long time. Skyscrapers on top of a huge mountain. Dragon Mountain might be the weirdest coaster ever. So it's really bizarre, but there's something I love about Marineland, and I probably would love about all those overseas parks I just mentioned. Now, I do like bigger parks better, I would say, because they're usually just run better because they have more money. They can afford better rides, better operations, all that, better maintenance. So I do like bigger parks better, but if you had to tell me that I could either go to Cedar Point on Labor Day weekend or Seabreeze on Labor Day weekend, I would probably take Seabreeze because crowds are going to be less and I'm going to get a lot more done and it's still going to be a good time. But I would say if you can only go to, like, say you're in Ohio and you could go to Kings Island or Stricker's Grove, like, unless you go to Kings Island all the time, I would definitely go to Kings Island over Stricker's Grove. So those are my thoughts on big parks versus small parks. Let me know what you guys thought of this down in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.